Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think it's only the male Sikhs or the men that are supposed to wear turbans. But yeah, it's again, Guru said equality. Guru said equity. Oh shit. Okay, well, that happened. So. What up, y'all? Smalls here. Long time no see. So I think the last time that I was on the internet at all was when I did this interview with the legendary, the iconic Cat Black. The interview and the aftermath was actually what sparked the idea for Black and Sikh, what sparked the idea for this project, this platform, to create a space to tackle a number of things that we saw were needed in our community for Black Sikhs and the Sikh community in general. This project has been a couple years in the making now. Now that it's finally here, it seemed only fitting to revisit the interview, the video that sort of sparked it all, that inspired it all. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a look at this interview, see if I remember it. Anyways, let's get into it.
We're probably not as familiar with it in the West as we are with Christianity. So if you could sum it up, how would you sum it up?
Ooh, okay, so it's a monotheistic religion. It's about 500 years old, and it's one of the 5 major religions, though of the 5, it's probably the least known, the least popular, and the most misunderstood. We're often mistaken for Muslims, especially if we're wearing a turban. And most Sikhs are brown. It was actually founded in India.
I was so worried about this. I was so anxious about this interview. I've done a lot of public speaking. I've been doing public speaking since I was in the 3rd grade. So it wasn't that. Usually when I'm doing public speaking, it's about sickle cell or it's about disability or chronic illness advocacy. And that I can do in my sleep. I can do that no problem. But this is different. And I always want to feel prepared. And so I remember reaching out to a friend of mine at the time and saying, can I ask you questions? Can I, if I have questions? And I don't know that I ever did, but I just researched, and I remember reading and rereading things that I already knew. I knew these things, but I just was so nervous that I was going to get it wrong. I especially couldn't get it wrong as a convert and as a non-Punjabi Sikh. So I was so anxious about this. And I was really grateful that I got feedback in the comments afterwards saying that I explained it well, because I was really worried about that. I wanted to be concise but clear but accurate. It was, yeah. So I think I even took a deep breath, because I was like, oh God, here it is. It was this is the question I'm worried about. It wasn't the only one, but this is the first main one.
You're telling me on one hand, God created the world and it is as God wants it, but then God would make it so that there's this whole sect of people who don't even have a chance to go to heaven. Mm-hmm. So those things, they never really gelled with me. And in fact, Sikhi teaches the opposite, religious freedom. So in our religious text, in our scriptures, there's actually parts of it are from Muslim saints and Hindu saints.
Do you know another religion that is so 10 toes down on religious freedom that they're, and not even on religious freedom, but 10 toes down on the fact that we see value in other faith practices, that the Guru was like, yeah, you want a guest feature in our scripture? Did you want a guest spot? Did you want a feature? We can get you a feature.
I don't believe, and I never have. That's the thing. Even when I was Christian, even when I was deep into it, I always had a problem with that part of it, because I never felt like this is the only right way. And if you do not go this way, if you do not do these things, if you do not know Jesus, you are going to burn in a fiery pit forever. That never really worked for me, because I thought, well, what about people who never have the opportunity to hear about Jesus or God or Christianity?
That's colonizer mentality. That's colonizer mentality. The idea that you got the truth, you know the truth, your way is the right way, and you know what somebody needs better than they do. You're going to go into different places and say, what is this that you're practicing? What is it? Oh, no. Let me introduce you to the truth. I got the truth. I know what you need. I know what you need. What? Girl, what? That doesn't work for me. To me, the fact that Sikhi, we do not proselytize. We do not have this belief that you need to do what we do to accomplish whatever. You might not even have the same goal, bruh. Because if you're trying to get to heaven, I'm not.
I can't go back to Christianity. I don't know. And I'd given up, and I Googled what religion should I be, or how to know which religion, something really silly. and a quiz popped up. Which religion should you be? And it was a list of like questions. It was a little bit more sophisticated than a BuzzFeed quiz, with all your like ideologies and your core beliefs and your values and what's important to you. And not just like, do you believe, but how important is this belief to you? And Sikhi, I took the quiz multiple times because I was so surprised by the results, but Sikhi was always in like the top 3.
So I actually went back and found this quiz just recently in preparation to do this reaction, to see if I could just find it and to see if I could like take the quiz again and see if I get the same results. I couldn't find my old results, so I don't remember exactly what I ranked. And again, Sikhi was really the highest one out of any of the ones that were really feasible. We're gonna have the quiz, the link to that quiz in the video descriptions of this, and also like the longer form and the editor's cut version of this reaction video. But if you want to take it, if you're interested in taking it and seeing how you do on the quiz, it might be helpful or maybe just be fun to do. But I thought it was pretty cool because it wasn't just simple. Like it asked you to prioritize those beliefs. Like, how important are those beliefs? What priority? And they asked some really good questions, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, that link will be in the description.
Most Sikhs aren't Black.
Most Sikhs are not Black.
Okay.
That was actually when I realized like, oh, I think this might be the religion for me. That's literally the first thing I Googled. Black Sikhs, African American Sikhs, like every variation of that. I was like, I need to know.
I remember one of the first things I did look up was to find out if there were Black Sikhs, because I'd never seen any Black Sikhs. I'd never heard of any Black Sikhs. I've been around plenty of Sikhs, but I'd never seen any Black Sikhs. It was kind of not like, can Black people be Sikhs? But it was like, are Black people Sikhs? Like, is that a thing? Like, what? I didn't want to be the only one. Really, my entire life until I got to college, I was the only one of something. I was the token of something. I just was tired of being in spaces in which I was the only something. There's not a ton of us, but there are some of us out there.
There's a lot of frustration being like at that intersection of Black and Sikh, because Sikhi teaches equality, right? Across race, across gender. And a lot of times, you know, people stare. I've been followed.
Really?
I've got followed this past weekend in the Gurdwara. He did one of those like, I'm not looking at you, and then every time I turn a corner, I see him. He's like, and then I turn another corner, and then he dips into the bath. I get treated like I'm Black, even in the Gurdwara, even in Sikh spaces. Yeah.
That's so interesting. You would imagine like a minority would have some sort of understanding of, hey, maybe that's not, you know, the way to treat people.
So I think it's wild that I had that experience there in Hayward, California, East Bay Area. But then when I went to visit somewhere in some random state, and I went to that good water, the nicest people, the prototype of a Sikh. If that person would have told me, oh, I don't see color, I might have actually believed that, because they just treated me well. They were just so kind that it just threw me off. But I just think it's wild that I had such an awful experience and was like profiled the way that I was profiled and followed around.
The other Black Sikhs I know were ready and willing to sort of like just immerse themselves into Sikhi, which also means taking on parts of Punjabi culture, if we're being honest. And I was like, hey, I see you, Punjabi culture. I respect it. I love it. There are a lot of parallels, there are a lot of overlaps, but also Black American is a culture and it's mine, and I don't want to lose it.
When that first came out, I wasn't actually that nervous. And then I realized somebody was sort of offended by it, and then I was like, oh dear. But it is what it is. And we started having the conversation of culture versus religion, and I was like, well, you know, that's more of a cultural thing. That's not like something that Sikhi mandates. And then the sort of pushback I got was like essentially what I said. They were sort of willing to assimilate in that way, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. I mean, that's one thing I love about Sikhi. There's no, you know, one way to do it. There's no one right way to do it, and so whatever works for you, as long as it's, you know, respectful and appropriate to the cultures that you are partaking in, go for it. I think it's so easy for a lot of people to dismiss Black American culture because they don't see it as a particular culture. When people speak about Americans, they're usually speaking about white Americans, but then they sort of want to just say like, we don't have a culture, like we just have American. Like, Black American is a culture. It's my culture. And I did try on a number of things for size in terms of like things that were more cultural and like not religious, and it didn't work for me. I didn't feel comfortable. I definitely didn't feel like myself. You know, I didn't realize at the time like how important my hair was to me, and how I wear my hair is part of my identity and who I am and how I present and all of these things. And so that was important. Just like hats. Like, I love hats. Like I always have. And so I was like, never wear a hat again? Like, only wear turbans every day? Like, no. That was kind of the gist of it.
And then your turban is also supposed to make you stand out to other people. It's supposed to make you identifiable to other people.
Okay.
So if somebody sees a turban, they're supposed to say, oh, that's a Sikh. I can go to this Sikh for help.
That idea that your turban is supposed to help make you identifiable to those in need or people who need help, I think is, again, another beautiful sentiment that does not apply to me and probably does not apply to a lot of Black Sikhs, because no matter what I wear, it doesn't matter how many pieces of the Sikh uniform I have on. It also sometimes doesn't even matter what I say. People do not read me as Sikh, and sometimes even when I say I'm Sikh, people do not believe that I'm Sikh. It made letting go or not wearing the turban daily a little bit easier, because I was like, well, that's not a thing that's going to apply to me. Nobody reads me as Sikh. Nobody's going to be like, that's a Sikh, I can go to her for help. That's not a thing that's going to happen. And even when I do have my hair covered and I say, no, I'm not taking this off, and like I'm going through TSA or something, I'll say like, oh, I'm Sikh, I keep my hair covered for religious purposes. They're like, yeah, sure, you're just using that, like, you know. And I have to be like, no, for real, like, look, I got on my cut, like, look, and my, like, look, I don't do all that, but it's like I be wanting to, because I be feeling like they think I'm lying. You can see it on their face, and I don't appreciate it.
This Wednesday, November 22nd, we're going live on Instagram. The whole team answer some questions, tell you a little bit more about how we got here, how the project came about, why is it called a multimedia project, why is it called a project, is it just a YouTube channel, is it more? It's more, it's a lot more, and we want to tell you all about it. So meet us over on Instagram, on the Black and Sikh Instagram channel, BLACKxSIKH. Actually, we'll have editor enough put it on the screen right there.
If you made it this far in the video, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, I just wanted to revisit the video that kind of sparked it all, this interview and the aftermath of it, and all the questions that came flooding in, not just to me but to other Black Sikhs. I realized as a byproduct of me doing this interview, other Black Sikhs said, I started getting more questions too. That's really what sparked the idea for this to really be my next advocacy project. And so I'm really grateful that I decided to go ahead and push through and do this interview, because again, I did not want to do it. I'm glad I did it with Kat Black. If you're not familiar with Kat Black, you really should go check her out. Kat Black, BLAQUE. We'll put the name on the screen. We'll have her channel in the description. You should check out anything that she's doing. Again, icon, legend, YouTube vet. So I'm really grateful to her for not just having the idea for the series, the Just So You Know series, but also letting me come on and share my story. And then most importantly, for being such an amazing interviewer. It was perfect. It was conversational, helped to ease a lot of the anxiety that I had. And then I embarrassed myself afterwards, but we won't talk about that. Again, thank you for checking this out and staying tuned this long. If you have any questions, hit us up at Black and Sikh, BLACKxSIKH on any platform. Same username everywhere. And we look forward to seeing where this journey takes us as we explore the intersection of culture and faith, specifically centering and shining a spotlight on those at the specific intersection of Black and Sikh. So thank you, and see you soon.